Good morrow, my lovely little ghosts, and welcome to the Dark Orchard. I'm Laura, and this is an unboxing video. As I said in my intro, this is an unboxing video. More specifically, I'm going to be unpacking the Spring Culturefly Supernatural box, which looks like this. I'm going to be unpacking what's inside of here. But first, we have some things to talk about. Well, a thing. We have a thing to talk about. The Winchesters. So let me set this aside. We will be unboxing it, but in a minute. And we're going to talk about the Winchesters first. Before I dive too deep into this video, let me tell you that I have filmed this before. So instead of doing a blind reaction to the things in this box because I've already seen them, I'm just going to show you what's inside. So, the Winchesters. For those of you that don't know, there's a new series coming out this fall called, you guessed it, The Winchesters. So the first trailer for The Winchesters was released, and it's a little confusing. The story of the Winchesters is going to follow John and Mary in their journey of young adulthood, but in doing so, it kind of messes with plots that we already have established. But I'll get into that. First off, it is set in 1972. That's important. We'll come back to that. Stick a pin in that. 1972. So the Winchesters are ditching the flannel for bell-bottoms. Let's start off by talking about the episodes that set the precedents for the John and Mary story. So season 4, episode 3 was titled In the Beginning. This is Supernatural, season 4, episode 3, and it was called In the Beginning. This is the episode where Dean has to go back in time to try to stop Mary from meeting the yellow-eyed demon. He doesn't know that's why he's there, but that's why he was inevitably there, but then he was actually not really there for that. But if you've seen the episode, you know how that all unfolds. Anyway, he goes back in time to 1973. Already, there's an inconsistency. Because when he's sitting at the diner, he's sitting beside of John Winchester. And then a man comes in after he sees the specific date on the calendar. After he sees the specific date of April 18th, 1973, a man walks into the diner and addresses John as if he's just returning from the war. In the new trailer, we see John returning from the war in 1972. So either this man slept a whole year, or there's already an instant inconsistency. Not only that, but in that very same scene, Dean does his hunter testing to see if John, picks up on any of the clues that a hunter would pick up on. Sort of like a secret code of hunters. Just throwing out things like cold spots or weird occurrences, that kind of thing, to see if John clicked with any of it. And he didn't. He had no clue what he was talking about. Which, again, is an inconsistency with the new one, because the new series acts like John and Mary know everything there is to know about monster hunting. And from the flashback episodes, we know that John definitely did not know anything about that prior to Mary's death. Mary, however, came from a family of hunters. And we find this out when she confronts Dean outside of the diner that her and John are eating at. And she has a bracelet on. That bracelet has a Men of Letters charm. In the new series trailer, there is a scene where they're talking about the Men of Letters. But I'll get to that in a second. We got a little bit more to talk about with In the Beginning before we jump forward to all that. So Mary's father says he has a problem with hunters. He doesn't trust them. Which kind of falls into maybe John is just a really good actor. If we're saying that both versions are canon, maybe John was just pretending the whole time that he had no clue what hunting was. But that's kind of debunked in the next episode I'm going to talk about. And in this very same episode, Mary confesses that she wants to break away from a life as a hunter so that she can be with the nice, naive civilian that is John Winchester. So even she, alone with Dean, says that she wants to get rid of the life she's in so that she can be with John. Which brings me to the next episode we're going to talk about, which was Season 5, Episode 13. The Song Remains the Same. And it's a bit of a continuation, but this time both Sam and Dean go back in time. And they go back in time to John and Mary after they've gotten married, after they've moved in together. And we're to believe that Mary has given up on hunting to be with John. So John still appears to be completely clueless to the hunting life, and this is where it kind of debunks the fact that maybe he was pretending the whole time, because Mary still keeps Sam and Dean a secret from him as far as their hunting lifestyle. Why? Because this John Winchester would not understand anything about it, because he hasn't been exposed to that life. And when John finally does see Mary fighting in this episode, he freaks out. He has like a whole moment where he realizes what's happening and tries to explain it to himself, and has that really funny moment in the car where it's like a family road trip kind of thing with the "I'll turn this car around" moment. It's obvious that John Winchester was not supposed to know anything about hunting until that very moment. And by the end of it all, John and Mary's memories were wiped to the moment before that event, so they still have no memory of it. Also, as John is talking about hunting and the hunting life, he's given the idea that Sam and Dean were raised as hunters by their father, and he's appalled by the idea. So young John Winchester, canonically, was not a fan of the hunting life and raising someone in that. So then why does young John Winchester like hunting with Mary in the new series? Another thing that strikes me as odd is that in the trailer for the new series, we see John returning from war and his mom owning the mechanic shop. The family business being working on cars. Which is funny in a couple of ways, because honestly, I can't imagine Henry actually being a mechanic when he wasn't being a man of letters. Like, he didn't strike me as the mechanic type. But anyway, his mom is in like the full mechanic jumpsuit and presents it as her position. However, in that episode in season 5, the owner of the garage that John is working for is a Mr. Woodson. Once again, word of the day, inconsistency. So then, speaking of Henry, we fast forward to season 8. Season 8, episode 12, As Time Goes By. We see a 6 to 8 year old John Winchester seeing his father Henry Winchester leave for the last time before he time skips into the future and meets Sam and Dean. This is the last moment that John Winchester ever saw his father, and he's tucking him in at night. We then get to see how Henry Winchester reacts to Sam and Dean being raised by a hunter, or raised to be hunters. He says hunters are apes. He says hunters are basically the uneducated, primal version of the men of letters, and that Sam and Dean were supposed to be legacies. But John wouldn't have really known that. Like, even I don't think he would have thought of it as more than just a story, if anything, at most 8 years old. And the young John didn't really seem to know why his dad was leaving at such a late hour. It wasn't like he was like, oh, you're gonna go try to fix this demon problem. No. So above all, we know that the reason John became a hunter and not a man of letters is because he didn't know anything about the men of letters. And Mary's death led him to be a hunter. He learned as he went. And as he learned, he became a more skilled hunter. So, erasing all of that and going back to John Winchester was a hunter when he was a teenager, it just doesn't make any sense. It takes away his entire story arc and the reason why he became the John Winchester that we all know. He started off as Mr. Nice Guy who had no clue what hunting was. Then he lost Mary and spent his entire life trying to figure out why. So rewriting that kind of diminishes all of that. In my opinion, the Winchesters is going to be saved by one character and one character only, so they will probably kill them off very soon. But I think Carlos is going to save the pilot and any episodes that Carlos appears in after the pilot, because that is the comedic relief. And I feel like Carlos is going to be a fan favorite instantly. And when do they not kill off fan favorite characters? So I'm not holding my breath for him to stay alive very long. I'm excited for the quippiness until his demise.
The only thing worse than how it starts for hunters is how it ends.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Winchesters and the trailer and the things that we were punched in the face with this trailer. So we see Dean Winchester writing in a book and saying the John and Mary story has always been a mystery. And at that moment, I paused and went, huh? Because it really hasn't been. We know he was raised by his mom. We know he lied himself into the war and then left the war, came back to town, became a mechanic, not long after bought the Chevy and asked Mary to marry him, got married to Mary, and then Sam and Dean. Like, there's not much to be discovered in the timeline that Supernatural itself set out for them. And then we hear Dean talk about the night that Dad met Mom. And it's Mary's in a fight with a monster, and John intervenes, and then John learns about what a hunter is from that moment. Which is really strange. We get a lot of lines that are very similar to lines from the original series, kind of specifically the first episode. So Mary in the trailer says that her dad's been on a hunting trip and he's been gone for...
Dad was hunting demons and now he's missing.
Almost word for word, Dad's been on a hunting trip and he's been gone for a few days.
Dad's on a hunting trip and he hasn't been home in a few days.
Like, the plot of Supernatural. And she utters it like it's gonna be the plot of the Winchesters too. So Samuel went on a hunting trip and hasn't been back. What about Deanna? Did Sam and Deanna not fight together in this universe? They really did seem to treat it like a family business in the flashback episodes. But anywho, the other line that was very similar to one another was John Winchester says something like, when he told his dad he was scared of the monsters under his bed, he said, "That's okay, I know how to fight them."
As a kid, I thought there was a monster under my bed. And my dad always said, "Don't worry, son. I know how to trap it."
Almost exactly like the line that Sam says in the pilot, "When I told Dad I was afraid of the dark, he gave me a 45.
When I told Dad I was scared of the thing in my closet, he gave me a 45.
What was he supposed to do?
Like, almost exactly parallel to another line from the pilot. So in an interview with Jensen and Danielle Ackles, Jensen says that this is a new iteration on beloved characters. So a new version of an existing piece. It's just strange to me. He also said that nothing's off the table, and he has ways of bringing back fan favorites and maybe even younger versions of fan favorites. And that gets your head spinning because there are so many people that we could see. I mean, Bobby, Rufus, Bill and Ellen, Caleb, Missouri and Elkins, but all of these people that you would think about them bringing back younger versions of are all people that taught John how to hunt once John lost Mary. So if they brought them into the picture, then that would rewrite even more of the Supernatural storyline. So who could he possibly bring back that hadn't just met John, that was part of John and Mary's life, besides Missouri. Like, Missouri might be the exception because she lived in Lawrence. But anybody else, it's like, okay, but how? Vincent also said that he's not in the business of changing canon as much as he is viewing it from a different perspective. Like, viewing existing canon through a different lens. And that lens is obviously sepia because the entire thing was filmed on grain film so that it would look vintage, and it all looks like it was filmed in the 70s. Everything is brown. Where Supernatural was dark, the Winchesters is brown. So now that I've rambled on about the Winchesters, let me tell you what plot I wish we would have seen instead. I wish we would have seen the story of Sam and Deanna, the Campbells. I'd watch a show about the Campbells because we don't know a lot about the Campbells. We don't know how Sam and Deanna met, how they both became hunters. We don't know anything about anyone around them or the rest of their family. We know they had a bunch of cousins and stuff that showed up in the later Supernatural episodes. So there's a whole hunter family out there that we could have also seen interact with the Men of Letters. And maybe, just maybe, we get the younger part of, like, Sam and Deanna having Mary. And Mary being about 6 or 8, John being about 6 or 8, and maybe they cross paths with Henry. And Henry, like, we get that interaction of the Men of Letters think that hunters aren't as good or as superior as Men of Letters. And we get more Men of Letters backstory too. Or maybe he thinks the Campbells are the exception to the rule, and that's why Mary wears the Men of Letters charm on her bracelet. There's so many unanswered questions with a Sam and Deanna storyline versus a John and Mary storyline. So overall, I think that those of us who have spent the last almost 16 years rewatching and just drowning in Supernatural reruns and absorbing all of the flashback episodes because they have become cult favorites are gonna be a little confused by it being the John and Mary storyline. Because we know the plot, and we're gonna have to pretend like they wiped our memories to be able to enjoy a story that doesn't follow the original plotline. Even if Jensen says the canon is going to be explained, it still feels weird. It feels like there's no way they could explain all of that. So I feel like if we would have gotten some non-John and Mary Hunter characters, it would have just gone over better. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if it's worth watching. We'll see if we can put the John and Mary aspect on the shelf and absorb it as if it's a new thing. Because inevitably it is something new. It's just a different iteration. I've rambled enough. Let's get into the Culturefly box and what's inside. So this is the Spring Culturefly Supernatural box. And it is Hellhound themed. I'm allowed to say that now because I've already opened it and I know what the theme is. So let me show you the items that came inside. First off is the super soft, adorable, purple Hellhound plushie. It's ferocious, but it's cute. It almost looks like the little thing, I think her name was Katie, from Horton Hears a Who? The one that goes, nah. That's what it reminds me of. It's got the same face. It's got that, like, derpy face. And I like it. I love it. It's so soft. And so cute. It's much softer than the Scooby-Natural dinosaur thing. Like, this is very, very soft. Much plush. The next item is a charm, because Supernatural fans love their charms. This is a pair of Hellhound glasses. They look like glasses, but they've got the pentagram in where the glass part goes. And apparently it glows in the dark. I didn't see that the last time I opened it. Surprise! The next item is a pen. It's an enamel pen, and it has a classic Sam and Dean picture on it with skulls and flowers at the bottom. And it's a nice size. It's at least an inch in height, and it's a really cool picture. I really enjoy this picture. This next item is really, really fun, and I can't wait to actually sit down and look through it. It's called the Men of Letters Bestiary, and it is a Sam Winchester written, like from Sam Winchester's perspective, book on the different monsters that they've encountered. And then the very center of the book is Rowena in all of her glory. So Sam Winchester's centerfold is Rowena, and that makes me incredibly happy. I love this picture. It's supposed to be like drawn from Sam's perspective, and just look how gorgeous. I love that. A book told from the Sam Winchester's perspective, and it has like that Sam soul to it, and it's really exciting. The next item is most definitely going on my wall, on my Supernatural James Dean wall over there, and it is a wall scroll. It hangs by the ribbon, and it is a classic portrait of Sam, Dean, and Castiel. The funniest part of this is that this is the exact same picture that I already have framed on my wall, but it's a wall scroll version, so it's gonna look really cool side by side. And it's a super thick material. It's like a thick vinyl, and it says join the hunt at the bottom, but the vinyl is really high quality. It's better quality than like your standard anime wall scroll, so this is a really nice item. So this next item I actually missed the first time that I did my unboxing, so I'm glad that I'm able to show you because this is amazing and I've been playing with it nonstop since I unboxed it. It's a fidget toy. It is a fidget toy, but it's a devil's trap, and it's got the devil trap pictures on it, and the like little symbol things are poppable, and it's just such a satisfying sound, and I love it. It's also a keychain, so you can put it on your keys and just enjoy that pop. It's great. And then the very last item in the box is a supernatural themed windbreaker. It's a black windbreaker. The chest of it looks like it's been scratched by a hellhound. And then on the other side, it says Supernatural Join the Hunt. There's nothing on the back, but the lining is red. See, the lining is red, and it has a hood, and it's a very nice quality jacket. It's much nicer than the eraser head windbreaker that they gave me in the My Hero Academia box. Like, this one is a really thick windbreaker that feels like it could actually keep you warm when the wind's blowing. I'm super excited about this one. So that was me doing a Supernatural box unboxing and ranting about the new Winchesters series. For the comments down below, tell me what you think about the Winchesters series. I don't care if you write a book, I want to know all your thoughts. And if you don't talk to me about that, tell me who your favorite Supernatural character is. Keep it simple. And if you don't talk to me about that, just talk to me about something, because I love for you to talk to me down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you come around again soon. Say bye. Bye!